Hello my friends and welcome back to the terrors of our own planet. Rather than diving into Subnautica today, we'll be taking a look at some of the scariest, creepiest, and most haunted places and events found under or on the waters of Earth, and ranking them on a vague tier list based on how freaky I find them to be, from strange rock formations to places where ships disappear. It's safe to say this video might turn you off from swimming in natural bodies of water for a while. Well, without any further ado, take a deep breath and let's dive right in. And starting us off, blue holes are defined as large marine caverns or sinkholes, which are open to the surface, distinguished from cenotes by the fact that they most often contain seawater. Roughly circular in shape, they get their names from the stark contrast of color between the shallower waters around and deep waters within the hole. Commonly anoxic below a certain depth, blue holes are fairly inhospitable for most marine life, mostly being occupied by bacteria. Look, these places are creepy on their own, but what can actually be really spooky is how deep they can get. In fact, in 2024, the Tam Ja Blue Hole on the southern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula has claimed the record for deepest blue hole in the world, with a depth of over 420 meters or 1,380 feet. That puts it right around the height of the Empire State Building for size comparison. So, a massive sinkhole plummeting to scary depths, inhospitable for a lot of sea life, and very dangerous for divers? Yeah. Definitely somewhat spooky. And next up, have you ever wondered if there are other places similar to the Bermuda Triangle around the world? Well, there certainly is one. The Devil's Sea, or Dragon's Triangle, is a roughly triangle-shaped area to the south of Tokyo that is sometimes considered paranormal. It all began in 1945 with a supposed vanishing of a Mitsubishi A6M0, where the pilot's last transmission was, "Something is happening in the sky is opening up." Then, in 1955, Japanese newspapers began running the story that several other ships had vanished in the region, and the New York Times introduced the topic as the Devil's Sea, where 9 ships vanished in perfect weather. Later in 1974, American paranormal writer Charles Berlitz wrote about the sea, claiming hundreds of lives lost, and that the Japanese government has labeled the sea as a high danger zone. Unsurprisingly, just as the Bermuda Triangle, the Devil's Sea story has accumulated a slew of criticism over the years. Seemingly, Japan has never officially recognized said area as a zone of high danger. Additionally, many of the lost ships were small fishing boats without proper radios or communication, and the weather was far from perfect when they went missing. So, a cursed part of the Pacific or just a spooky legend? Who knows, but it can easily fit into the somewhat spooky category. Up till now, we've been traveling the world's seas and oceans on this list, but with this entry, you'll find that smaller inland bodies of water can be just as scary. The so-called Devil's Pool is a natural pool located in the Babinda Boulders Scenic Reserve in Queensland, Australia. According to the legends of the Aboriginal tribe from the area, a young woman threw herself into the pool after being separated from the love of her life, giving birth to its deadly currents. 21 people have drowned at or near this pool, with most of the victims being caught and dragged underwater with a torrent of water on one side and treacherous rocks on the other. Signs line the trail surrounding the area these days, reminding everyone of the grim history of the area and to serve as a precaution for anyone wanting to cool off in the pool. The lives lost in this place easily push it to the somewhat spooky category. It's early 2001. Marine engineer Paulina Zalitsky is working with her husband Paul Weinswig on an exploration and survey mission off the coast of Cuba when their sonar comes across something strange. Between the depths of 600 and 750 meters, covering an area of around 2 square kilometers. There appeared symmetrical and geometric stone structures, resembling a sprawling urban complex. Puzzled, they returned to the site with a remotely operated vehicle that descends toward the spot, and its sonar interprets various pyramids and circular structures resembling granite. This discovery left many confused. Some, such as marine geologist Manuel Iterold, called the results very unusual, estimating it would have taken man-made structures at least 50,000 years to sink that deep, while others, such as Professor of Oceanography Robert Ballard, said, quote, "I've looked at a lot of sonar images in my life, and it can be sort of like looking at an ink blot. People can sometimes see what they want to see." So, a natural formation or a remnant of some ancient civilization? Well, hard to say, but I definitely think it's spooky. Now, this one is less of a place and more of a time frame or an event, yet it seemed to fit the theme of this list. Something strange happened in 1968 that caused 4 different submarines from different nations in different places to vanish. The USS Scorpion, the Soviet K-129, the French Minerve, and the Israeli INS Dakar were all lost in the span of 6 months, claiming the lives of 318 crew members. While the details for them differ, the overarching picture is eerily similar. With all 4 submarines, things seemed to be going well at first. Radio reports going out, positional readings in the green, up until they suddenly stopped responding, never to be heard from again. All 4 wrecks were eventually discovered at the bottom of the ocean, though with some it took more than 50 years to locate them. For whatever reason, it seems all 4 eventually descended well below their depth limit, leading to catastrophic hull failure. Were they sunk by enemy warships? Did torpedoes explode on the inside? Sabotage? Who knows, but at least these disasters massively affected the submarine programs of their respective nations. Around 1,800 kilometers northeast of New Guinea lies Chuuk Lagoon. An atoll in the Central Pacific Ocean, Chuuk Lagoon is a massive underwater graveyard. During World War II, it was the Empire of Japan's main naval base in the South Pacific Theater, and it was the site of Operation Hailstone, a major US attack. And what was left of it was the so-called Ghost Fleet of Chuuk Lagoon. Ships, airplanes, tanks, with human remains still inside of them, all sitting virtually intact on the seabed in crystal clear water, often less than 50 meters below the water surface. This has, of course, made the site a popular, albeit creepy recreational diving spot, starting with the 1971 documentary about the lagoon and the remains within. Of course, a site like this can't exist without its share of haunted stories, from divers hearing ghostly sounds of machinery to voices or the sounds of grinding metal and revving engines. Whether you choose to believe those stories is up to you, but the place is undeniably creepy, easily placing it in the spooky category. And now for an absolute classic. There is a region in the North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bound by Puerto Rico, Florida, and Bermuda, that has since the mid-20th century seen hundreds of urban legends regarding ship and aircraft disappearances. This is the Bermuda Triangle. First mentioned in the Miami Herald on September 17, 1950, the place has over the years certainly accumulated quite a backlog of strange occurrences and vehicle disappearances, such as the 1945 Flight 19, 1948 disappearance of Airborne Transport DC-3, or 1949 vanishing of Star Ariel. Now, of course, this topic has been heavily sensationalized over the years, bringing in a lot of criticisms, such as from Larry Kusch, author of The Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, who points out that the number of missing ships and aircraft isn't significantly greater than in other parts of the ocean and was heavily exaggerated, or that meteorological conditions that could have contributed to the vanishings were often omitted. Many natural explanations have also been proposed, such as human error, violent weather, and possible large fields of methane. Still, the Bermuda Triangle remains perhaps the most iconic paranormal water-related place in the world, and for that, it belongs in the really spooky category. This next one is really weird. Picture this. It's December 4th, 1872, North Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Portugal. You're aboard the De Gratia ship when you spot the Mary Celeste about 6 miles out, heading unsteadily towards you. A Canadian-built brigantine under partial sail, disheveled but seaworthy. Except, here's the thing. There isn't a single person on board. The last entry in the log is from 9 days earlier, recording the ship's last position off the Santa Maria Island, nearly 400 nautical miles from where it was found. The ship was hauled away and recovered, however, none of the crew were ever seen or heard from again. Many explanations were proposed for what might have happened. Some suspected foul play, perhaps in the form of insurance fraud, while others theorized that the crew used the single lifeboat the ship was equipped with that was indeed missing as a safety measure and were simply unable to return on board. Natural phenomena were also blamed, such as severe waterspouts or submarine earthquakes. Regardless of what happened, this story is certainly very strange, which puts it in the really spooky category. And finally, the SS Andrea Doria is a transatlantic ocean liner first put into service in 1953, most famously known for sinking in 1956 after it collided with the Swedish-American line passenger liner Stockholm amidst thick fog. The sinking is very well documented, but what is perhaps less known is that after settling underwater, it became perhaps one of the most dangerous wrecks for daring divers to explore. Initially, the conditions were good, with the top of the wreck resting around 50 meters or 160 feet under the surface, but over time, it has begun to deteriorate, with many of the passages collapsing and falling apart. The wreck is often described as noisy, as it emits noises due to decay and ocean currents moving broken metal. Some have even claimed to hear voices of the deceased crew and passengers. Unfortunately, even after sinking, the ship has continued to claim lives, as at least 22 scuba divers have perished within as of 2025. Because of this, the site is nicknamed the Everest of wreck diving and should only be explored by divers with extensive experience. Truly a terrifying place to go. And there you have it. Those were some of the creepiest and most mysterious underwater places and events on our own Earth. If you guys have any other places or events such as these that you would like to mention, please write them down in the comments. I will definitely read them. And with that, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. With that, I'm going to wish you all a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.